we were really shocked when my team went to Ghana in West Africa, and we found nobody that was a rehabilitation medicine specialist. There were some really neat physical therapists that just started a program, but really nobody. And we started wondering why. And we talked to people, we talked to government ministers, we talked to people on the streets, to beggars. And the bottom line is that nobody really valued rehabilitation and disability. You know, I mean, it's really easy to count body bags, okay, and dead babies. You count them and you multiply by $4,000 and you got a cost, right? But when you're talking about a person's inability to dress themselves or to walk or to hold down a job, those are really different and they're hard to measure. When I talked to the government ministers and said, how many people in your country are disabled, they'd give me a number like 10%. I'll go to Liberia, they'll say 17%. And if I keep asking, I'll say, where'd you get that number? And they'll say, I don't know. So it's been in our books for 20, 30 years, 10%. What kind of disability? I don't know, it's been in our books for 20 or 30 years, 10%. And I realized that a really big problem was that society didn't know how to measure the cost of people living, consuming resources, but not contributing to society as poets, writers, musicians, whatever else they have to do. So we started asking people in Ghana, you know, are you disabled? And the responses came back in Fante, Ashanti, Twi, all kinds of languages, and really we couldn't ask. In fact, many people who spoke English were illiterate. And we realized that getting a survey in Ghana would be a very difficult problem. We came back home and said, you know, this is a problem all over the world. Measuring disability is like the Tower of Babel. You got to speak 7,000 languages in the world, 7,000 languages, in order to measure disability. And of course, the people with disability were the most isolated, so they didn't speak English or Spanish or the major language very well, and the least educated. And so you had a real bias if you go out and survey disability. We thought about it for a while, and I had these really smart medical students with me who also had backgrounds in computer engineering. And together we decided that you really didn't need words to describe function. You can watch somebody walk, you can watch somebody dress, brush their teeth, poop. You can watch them do all this kind of stuff and say, yeah, I can do that. No, I can't do that. So we came up with a video game, basically. It's called the Language Independent Functional Evaluation, which is like LIFE, life, right? And it's really pretty cool. You've got these pictures, and you know you can touch this one on the screen and touch that one, and it describes what you have. And it is the equivalent of one of the most standard scientific tools used to measure disability in people who speak English, called the Barthel Index. In fact, we've used this in America, in Ghana, in Mongolia. We've used it in South America. In South America, we use this with kids that have developmental disabilities, so maybe their thinking is slowed. We found out that they answer this better than they do when you ask the question in Spanish, because they get it, they get the picture. So now we have a tool for the whole world to use, where you can go into the jungles, you can go in New York City, any place you want, and you can ask the same people exactly the same question without worrying about translating it or getting the subtleties wrong. It's just the picture of what's happening. So the life has become a really important part of new policy in healthcare, saying let's count how much people can do and see what they can do with their lives.